Enjoying an ocean view from the Shenao rail bike. A narrow-gauge industrial railway was built in the Shenao area of Ruifang by the Japanese in 1936. It was used to transport coal, salt, and sugar. In 1965, the Taiwan Railways Administration fixed the old railway and made it ready for public trains. This line's service ended in 1989, when a local coal power plant closed. However, in 2019, the Shenao rail bike opened on the old railway tracks between Shenao and Badozi, a seaside area in Keelung City. It's the only rail bike in Taiwan with an ocean view. The 1.3 km track has small cars that passengers pedal just like bicycles. Each car seats 2 people, and anyone who rides must wear a seatbelt. A one-way trip takes around 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how fast you pedal. As you ride along, you'll see trees and the ocean all around you. A fun part of the trip is a tunnel with brightly colored twinkling lights. The buildings along the path are decorated with images of the cute rail bike mascots, Ebby, Toby, and Moby.
Today's warm-up quiz is: the train disappeared into the dark blank just a few minutes after it left the station. We have 4 options: A, tunnel, B, image, C, passenger, and D, coal.
You have 15 seconds to think about it. Time's up.
Hello everyone, welcome to English for You. I'm Mike.
I'm Betty.
And today we are going to be beginning a short but fun trip down a railway. Now, it doesn't sound like that would be too exciting or interesting. I mean, there's trains and railways everywhere in the world. But how about if you were providing the power to the train and the train was actually kind of a bicycle?
Oh, this sounds pretty cool.
It sounds more interesting
I've been
now.
there. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you've been there?
Yeah.
Wow,
It's quite
exciting.
fun.
So you will be our resident expert on everything we need to know about the Shenao rail bike. But the article begins with a narrow gauge industrial railway. Industrial railway. Okay, yeah.
It's a mouthful.
A narrow gauge industrial railway was built in the Shenao area of Ruifang.
Ruifang, yeah.
Thank you, by the Japanese in 1936. Wow, it's been there a long, long time.
Right.
And this is a narrow gauge railway. Just means the tracks are kind of closer together.
Narrower than the standard.
Yeah.
没错，他就说那个深澳线的那个轨距啊，就是它是比较窄的哦。那它是多窄呢？它大概是就是差不多1公尺多，1公尺6公分这样，1067毫米哦。那它是属于窄轨，为什么呢？因为国际上其实有个标准轨距，就大概是1435毫米这样。那台湾其实有很多那种5分车，如果你去糖厂的话，那为什么叫5分车？就是它是国际轨距的一半。It's also quite fun if you go on those like really like narrow gauge. Like right now they are like trains for tourists.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's quite fun.
All right, so let's move on with our article. You know, this is an old railway from 1936, narrow gauge. So yeah, not your typical passenger train would go on this railway. So what would go on it? Well, we kind of mentioned it was used to transport coal, salt, and sugar. Very interesting. So things, I guess, they were mining and finding up in the mountains, or things that people in the mountains needed.
Right.
And they would bring that stuff up to them much faster and much easier
resources.
than putting it on a truck, or even back then, maybe having it pulled up by horses on carriages, right? So this was a good way to transport lots of different useful stuff like coal, salt, and sugar. What is it to transport something? It's just to move it from here over to here. That's all you're doing. I guess you can transport things with your hands.
对
You might transport your glass of milk from the kitchen to the living room.
搬运
But generally, we're thinking about putting it in a machine, in a vehicle, and moving it a long distance. When we talk about transporting things, it might be people being transported around the city in buses, subways, taxis, cars, and bicycles. We transport things longer distances by boat or by airplane or by train or something like that. We can also use this as a noun when we talk about machines that carry things around like buses, cars, airplanes. That is transport. And what do? They transport things. They move things from one place to another. Here's a cute one. This little elevator transports food from the kitchen up to the dining room.
就是餐厅里面小小的
You know
那
what we call
个
that in English?
Don't know.
A dumb waiter.
Oh, dumb waiter.
A dumb
because
waiter.
it's a dumb
Well,
waiter. It's not
dumb
human
like
waiter.
it doesn't speak.
Yeah.
It's a waiter that doesn't speak. It just carries things
送餐的那个梯子哦
up to down.
Dumb waiter. It's
Yeah.
a fun name.
It is kind of. We don't have many of them anymore, but some restaurants, I think, still have them. And one of the things they were transporting from the mountains and stuff around Reifang was coal. What is coal? It's a black, dirty rock, basically. It's a form of carbon, so kind of like diamonds. Diamonds are also carbon. But coal is a form of rock that we dig out from under the ground, and especially in the old days, they burn it for heat and for fuel. Like you can burn wood, you can burn coal, but it was a lot easier. I think the Titanic was run on coal.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Maybe if you see the movie, they're shoveling coal into the big machines that would generate heat and steam and power and movement. And that's our example sentence. Old trains were powered by coal and steam. And of course, now they're powered by electricity or gasoline or diesel or something.
对，那同学应该对那个coal这个字应该很熟啊，因为这就是煤，台湾其实很多煤哦，所以是没有问题哦，大家对这个字。那我们来看一下这个 transport， 刚才有讲到那个 trans，T-R-A-N-S， 就是有搬运、穿越、横跨的意思，从 A 点到 B 点哦，没错，那个 port 就是呢搬运携带的意思，所以 porter 就是在帮你搬行李的人嘛，对不对？好，那我们接下来呢来看一下下一个重点哦，那这个 coal 当然就是煤嘛。好的，那我们这边有个被动的用法哦 ，be used to 被用来干嘛？比如说呢，我们造一个跟课文相关的哦 ，This narrow gauge railway is used to carry tourists through the mountains。这个铁路呢，用来载游客呢穿越群山。
All right, kind of like the railway we're going to be talking about here. So there it was, 1936. The Japanese are still in Taiwan. They're like, hey, there's coal in that mountain. We want to get it. So they built this little railway. Time passes. We jump forward in time by about 30 years. It says in 1965, the Taiwan Railways Administration fixed the old railway, yay, and made it ready for public trains. So I guess in the 30 years between the end of the Japanese and the mid-1960s, you're like, we don't need the railway. There's no more coal or salt, or we can get it somewhere else more easily. So the railway kind of, we would call, it fell into disrepair. It started to get ignored. It was unloved. It started to break down. And then some smart person in 1965 said, we should fix that railway. That'd be a really, really cool thing to do. And they did. And that is fantastic because of now, of course, we can still enjoy it.
没错，这公路总局呢，在这个之后的30年就把它改成了，因为呢他就说没有用了嘛，对不对？就把它改成了用来载运大众的一个铁轨哦。那这里同学要注意一下，有 make 然后受词加形容词的句型，就是把什么东西呢使什么东西成为什么东西。
And that was the situation for about another 30 years or so. And it says this line's service ended in 1989, so not too long ago, when a local coal power plant closed. So there you were, moving your coal around the mountains of Reifang. This train was great. But suddenly, when they didn't need to move coal around the mountains of Reifang, the train became not so important.
Right, and we have this plant here. It's not really referring to like little green plant.
A coal plant. It's black rock, but it's green. No. It has nothing to do with a growing plant. So what is a plant here?
它这里是指厂的意思，就是发电厂的意思，所以这里就是火力发电厂。
We often say a power plant.
对 ，power plant.
If you see power with plant, you know it's a big factory for making energy. If you just see plant, well, that could be a nice green thing that you grow in a garden. But a power plant is not. It's basically a power factory. It makes power. And now they have a lot, but they don't use coal as much as they used to. So then it says, however, in 2019, so really, really not long ago, just 5 or 6 years ago, in 2019, the Shenao rail bike opened on the old railway tracks between Shenao and Badozi, a seaside area in Jilang City. And that is what we are enjoying today.
Right, because you can see the big transformation, right? It used to be train and now it's more like a bicycle.
It's for fun now.
Right.
It's not for coal. Yes, and we've been using this word a lot, a track, a train track, a rail track, that kind of thing. What is a track? Well, yeah, it's kind of like a road that a train or a tram or a subway will run on, just as cars will run on a road because it makes it much easier for them to go places. Trains will run on a track. The difference is, of course, cars have big fat tires and they go on a flat road surface. A track, though, is made up basically of two big main parts. Two rails, often made of metal or steel, and that's what the wheels of the train will actually sit on. And then between those two things, you've seen this before, little wooden pieces. Those are called ties, and they'll have thousands and thousands of the little ties connecting these two long steel rails. Now that whole thing together, the rails and the ties and all the little pins, the little spikes that hold them in the ground, that is the track. So if you go to a train track, you'll see this right there on the surface. A subway, of course, the track will run under the city streets and it will be a different shape and designed in a different way. Or even if you're in an amusement park, if you go on a roller coaster, up and down, turning around, flipping around like that, it runs on a track, right? There's those metal things and the wheels hold on and round you go up and down. Always being safe because you're always running along that track. For example, this bridge has 2 levels. Cars use the road on top, while trains run along the tracks below. Very neat. So this is kind of a cool thing, right? We get to ride a bike, or a rail bike, on a track. That is pretty unusual, pretty special, and pretty fun. You think that's all they have to amaze you and make you go, this is the greatest? No, that's not. What else? It says the rail bike and the track. It's the only rail bike in Taiwan with an ocean view.
Yeah, how exciting is that?
You can get exercise, you can be out and then you can see the ocean. I mean, it's the best day ever.
Right, and the next sentence, let's take a look.
All right, what does it say? It says the 1.3 kilometer track, not too long. The 1.3 kilometer track has small cars that passengers pedal, just like bicycles. There you go. That's why we call it a rail bike, because you, the passenger, are also the engine. You are the motor. Well, your legs, I guess, technically are the motor. But a passenger normally is a person traveling in some kind of vehicle. If you're in the car, in the bus, sitting in the taxi, as long as you're in the airplane but not flying the airplane, you are a passenger. Okay, so you're not the driver, you're not the pilot, you're not the captain of the ship. You're just a person who has probably paid money for a ticket, or maybe someone you know is driving the car and you're sitting in the back or on the side, but you're not the one in charge. You're just in there going somewhere. For example, the train left at 4:45 a.m., so there were only a few passengers on board. That's a very early train.
Yeah.
Passengers were tired too, I'm sure.
Right, and passenger 意思就是乘客、旅客的意思哦。那 pedal 呢，同学要小心，它有动词就是踩踏的意思，或者是名词就这样踏板嘛，对不对？所以说当动词给大家一个造句哦 ，She pedaled her bicycle up the hill slowly but steadily. 它缓慢但是很稳定的哦，踩着踏板上坡。
It says each car seats 2 people. So it's only 2 in each one. They're each quite small, I guess. And anyone who rides must wear a seatbelt. Well, that's just good advice for any time you're in a moving vehicle. If you can, put your seatbelt on. You never know when you might have an accident or something, and no one wants to go flying out of your rail bike and getting hurt. So do put on your seatbelt.
在这边呢，我们来看一下今天的文法哦。我们来看一下 anyone who 的这个文法。那 anyone who 呢，它就是任何一个什么什么样的人，它是不特定。也就是说呢，你不知道那个人是谁的时候，就说 anyone who。比如说呢，我现在泛讲哦，想参加旅行的人呢，必须在星期5前报名。那我不知道确切谁要参加，对不对？那只是说，如果你有想要的话，你就必须要做这件事情，就是 anyone who wants to join the trip。must sign up by Friday. 好，那另外有个用法是 the person who. The person who 就是那位什么什么样的人哦。那通常呢，你已经知道那个人是谁，可是呢，你可能不知道他的名字，对不对？比如说呢，昨天帮我的那个人啊，非常的亲切。那昨天帮你的人应该不是路上随便走的那一个嘛，应该是你有特定一个人帮你，可是呢，叫不出名字。那你又很想跟别人分享的时候呢，就可以这样讲哦。The person who helped me yesterday was very kind. 你不能说 anyone 哦，这样会就是好像路边随便抓一个都帮了你哦。然后如果呢你要讲复数的话，没有指特定说谁，就是大家一个泛论的方式，就用 people who。比如说呢 people who eat too much sugar often have health problems. 吃太多糖的人呢，健康可能会有点问题哦。那如果同学在写作的时候呢，你要再正式一点点，我们可以说those who. 所以说呢 those who arrive late will not be allowed to enter. 有的时候参加会议的时候，迟到的人呢就不能进去咯，所以要小心，要准时，不要迟到。
And a one-way trip, we read a one-way trip takes around 15 to 30 minutes depending on how fast you pedal. So if you really want to go for it, it might take you 15 minutes. If you're going slowly and enjoying the view and chatting, it might take you about 30 minutes or a half an hour. That's a one-way trip. So I guess that's from one place to another. Then you might actually go all the way back, too.
Right, and it also depends on how fast the person in front of you pedal.
True, it's a train, right? Trains, you can't pass people on a train. Doesn't work that way. Yeah, that's a good point. So if the people in front of you are enjoying the view and you want to be, Tour de France winner, going really fast, it's not going to work anyways. So slow down and enjoy the trip, I think, is probably our best advice there. Very interesting. So this is clearly not a bicycle race in any way. It's a relaxing ride, and that seems to be the best way to get the most out of it. As it says, as you ride along, you'll see trees and the ocean all around you. You don't want to race through this in 15 minutes. You want to go slow and enjoy the beautiful nature and beautiful scenery all along the route. And yes, when you talk about a trip you take or a journey going from one place to another, this adverb along can be very useful.
没错 along 就是呢沿着某一个方向，伴随着什么一起进行，所以就说呢，我可以跟你一起骑车、搭车去火车站吗？那很好用哦。Can I ride along with you to the train station？ 载你一程这样。
Okay, and here's another cool bit. A fun part of the trip is a tunnel with brightly colored twinkling lights. Whoa, that sounds pretty cool. What is a tunnel? It is an underground passage. It has been something that has been dug through the ground, maybe underground, maybe through a mountain that's in the way. And of course, when we're building roads and trains and subways in a city, we can't always go along the surface or the top of the earth. Sometimes we need to go under the earth. And whether it's a really, really short one that you might walk through to get from one side of a street to another, there might be a tunnel like that. There's also very, very long ones. I think there's tunnels as you go to Elam that are like 10 kilometers or 12 kilometers long. And yes, when we generally think of subways in cities, those are trains that basically live in tunnels. They go underground almost all the time.
Right.
So that's what a tunnel is. And yes, they're expensive. They have to build them. They're kind of dangerous to build. But once they do, they can get you from one place to another very, very quickly. You don't have to go over the mountain or around the mountain or things like that. For example, there is no bridge from Kowloon to Hong Kong Island. You have to take a tunnel. I think there's 3 tunnels and 1 ferry boat, but no bridge. So you got to go underground.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the word we have here is twinkling, and this is an adjective we often use to talk about lights or how light looks. So when we're talking about twinkling, it's kind of a light that seems to be going on and off, but it's a very gentle light. It's not a very bright light like a flashing light at a concert or something like that. No, it's much more gentle than that. When we think of twinkling, we might think of stars in the night sky. You might be thinking of little lights on a Christmas tree that seem to sort of flash and get brighter and darker and that kind of thing. So twinkling is a very gentle and attractive way that lights can get lighter or brighter and then darker. For example, a row of twinkling lanterns lit the path to the beach where the party was held, and I'm sure at night it looked very beautiful. It says the buildings along the path are decorated with images of the cute rail bike mascots Ebby, Toby, and Moby.
What cute names.
I guess so. Are they cute? Do you remember the mascots painted everywhere?
I do. They're cute.
Okay.
And I guess they symbolize like the features there, like the topography.
I see.
地景,
Okay, Ebby, Toby, and Moby. And of course, these are not real creatures. They're mascots, kind of cartoon characters.
Right.
But generally, when we talk about things we look at, whether it's a picture, a painting, or a drawing, this word image is very, very useful. That is what an image is. It's something that you see with your eyes, and it might be giving you information too. We wouldn't think of letters as images, but we would think of pictures as images. Paintings, though, could also be an image. Anything you design with a computer just to sort of be interesting and to give you information, like a sign or a picture on a sign to tell you things, that can be an image too. For example, the fashion magazine, was filled with beautiful images of expensive luxury goods and models.
Yeah, that's what they do.
That's
what they
their
show.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
好，那我们讲一下这个 Toby 就是豆腐菌、豆腐盐，然后 Abby 就是橡皮菌，就是橡皮盐，还有山野菌 Moby 那 mascot 它是吉祥物的意思，比如说运动的团队常会有一个吉祥物嘛，对不对？狮子啊、老虎啊、大象啊、熊啊这种吉祥物。好，那这里的 image 呢，它是图像的意思。那我们现在要来看到 warm up quiz 的题目咯。他说 The train disappeared into the dark blank just a few minutes after it left the station. 就是这个火车啊，几分钟离站几分钟之后呢，就进到了一个什么样的地方？然后那个地方还暗暗的。那我们来看 A tunnel 隧道 ，B image 图像 ，C passenger 乘客。D coal 煤，那火车会进到哪里？那个 B、C、D 都不太可能嘛，就有点荒谬，对不对？所以这个答案呢就是 A tunnel。那同学不知道喜不喜欢我们今天的主题？如果你喜欢的话，不要忘记按赞、订阅、分享我们的 YouTube 频道，还有 Facebook 哦。
Okay, let's look at our chat question. We have an expert who can give us a really honest answer. What part of the Shenao rail bike ride would or did you enjoy the most?
I guess I just enjoyed every part of it.
Wow, every part of it.
Yeah, it's quite romantic.
Answer.
Even when you're in the tunnel
Okay.
and you get to like take a lot of pictures and just very beautiful. And there's also night markets around.
Ooh.
Right.
Guess you got to have some snacks, right? If you're bicycling your rail bike all day long. So there you go. What about you guys? Maybe you've been on the Shenao rail bike. That's very lucky. Talk about that. Or hearing what it's like. What would you be most excited about? Well, we're going to be excited to see you guys back here very soon. So until then, all the best. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Transport. We had to rent a truck to transport all the furniture from our old apartment to our new one. Coal. Hank added more coal to keep the fire burning on the cold winter night. Track. Rosie's shoe got caught in the train track while she was crossing, but luckily no trains were coming. Passenger. Lisa works as a taxi driver and takes passengers all over the city. Tunnel. Trains can travel between the UK and France through a tunnel under the water. Image. This country's money has many images of local animals on it.
智慧小补帖
Gauge. pedal, twinkling, mascot.